The silver leaves of the alien garden shimmered under the soft glow of twin moons, casting a quiet luminescence that seemed almost alive. Princess knelt by the edge of the crystalline fountain, her delicate fingers trailing over the water's surface, sending ripples across the reflection of a night sky she had never shared with anyone. Her heart felt heavy, an ache that words could never fully contain. Tonight, the stars seemed closer than ever, as if the universe itself leaned in to listen to the whispered longing trapped inside her chest. "Why do you linger so?" came a voice, gentle but resonant, a human voice that carried warmth even across the distance. It was Elias, the royal envoy who had come from another world, a world so ordinary yet so marvelously alive in its simplicity. He stepped lightly over the silver paths, the soft rustle of his cloak blending with the fountain's hum. His eyes, the deep brown of earth itself, held a concern that tugged at something fragile inside her. His breath hitched and she struggled to steady herself. How could she explain the whirlwind of feelings she had tried to bury? How could she tell him that the simple sound of his voice, the gentle curve of his smile, had become her secret solace in a world that demanded duty above all else? I just needed a moment," she whispered, her voice trembling as the words escaped like fragile wings. "A moment of quiet." Elias knelt beside her, careful not to break the fragile bubble of silence they had shared. "Quiet? Or is it something else you seek?" he asked softly, his hand hovering over hers, not touching, yet offering a warmth that made the coldness of her palace fade. Turned her gaze to him, her amber eyes shimmering with unshed tears. It's you," she confessed, her voice barely audible. "I don't understand why it beats so differently when you are near. I wish you were my husband." The words hung in the air, fragile as gossamer, yet heavy with the weight of a longing that spanned galaxies. Elias froze, the honesty of her confession striking him like a sudden storm. He could see the raw vulnerability in her eyes, the courage it had taken for a princess to strip away centuries of expectation and reveal her truth. He began, his voice thick, a mixture of awe and disbelief. I don't know what to say. I never imagined." "You don't have to say anything," she interrupted, a faint, bittersweet smile brushing her lips. "I just needed you to know, even if it changes nothing, even if I have to hide these feelings forever, I had to speak them aloud." Her hand moved, trembling, closer to his, as if seeking a bridge between worlds, between hearts. The wind picked up, carrying the scent of alien flowers and the faint tang of distant seas. It was a scent that reminded Elias of Earth mornings, fresh, hopeful, full of possibilities. And yet, as he looked at her, he felt an inexplicable ache, a pull toward a life he had never thought he would know. He reached gently, and his hand brushed against hers, not in command or claim, but in quiet solidarity. I never thought a heart like yours could exist outside the tales of legend. And yet here you are, right in front of me, trembling, beautiful, human in every fear, every hope. And I feel it too." His breath caught, a shiver running down her spine. "You feel it," she whispered, disbelief and hope intertwining in a fragile knot. "Yes," he said simply, his voice low, almost breaking. "I feel it, and if the universe allows, I want to explore this, whatever this is, with you." Tears finally spilled, unbidden and warm, tracing paths down his cheeks. She laughed softly, a sound mingling joy and sorrow. I thought I was alone in this feeling," she admitted, letting herself lean slightly closer. "I thought I would carry it silently, like a shadow in my heart, but now it feels like the universe has shifted just for us." Elias smiled, brushing a finger lightly across her tear-streaked cheek. "Maybe it has," he murmured. "Maybe some things are written not in the stars, but in the courage to speak the truth, even when it terrifies us." And in that silver garden under the twin moons, quiet gaze, felt a warmth she had never known. Not just the warmth of possibility, but the warmth of being truly seen, understood, and cherished. She rested her head lightly against his shoulder, closing her eyes, allowing herself to believe that perhaps, just perhaps, the improbable could become reality. Somewhere far beyond the silver garden, the universe seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what would unfold next. The following days were heavy with unspoken words. Princess moved through the halls of her palace like a shadow, her every step echoing in the vast emptiness. The twin moons had set, leaving the planet bathed in the pale light of its distant sun, but the glow could not touch the loneliness that clung to her heart. She replayed the Silver Garden confession endlessly, each memory both a balm and a torment. Elias' touch, his words, the trembling honesty of his eyes, everything lingered as if etched onto her very soul. Yet reality intruded with a cruel insistence. Was the heir of an alien empire, a lineage of duty and expectation. Marriage for a princess was never meant to be about love. It was about alliances, strategy, and power. And Elias, he was a human, fragile, untested, unbound by the centuries of tradition that weighed upon her. The thought of their worlds colliding in ways impossible to predict filled her with both longing and fear. Elias, meanwhile, tried to keep the distance that reason demanded, yet his thoughts betrayed him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw kneeling by the fountain, silver tears glistening like morning dew. Every heartbeat ached for a connection that seemed at once forbidden and inevitable. He wandered the palace gardens, tracing paths they had once walked together, haunted by the memory of her confession. The human mind craved simplicity, yet his emotions were a labyrinth he had no map for. It was during one such wandering that he found her again, perched atop the balcony overlooking the city of luminescent towers. The wind carried her hair like threads of liquid gold, the hem of her ceremonial robes fluttering like wings against the night. She looked smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of her own thoughts, yet radiant with a beauty that could break worlds. He called softly, afraid to startle her, yet unable to hold back the pull he felt. She turned, eyes wide, her lips parting in a fleeting smile that made his chest tighten. "Elias," she whispered, almost a question, almost a plea. He stepped closer, hesitant, each movement careful, as though proximity might shatter the fragile moment. "You look tired," he said gently. "The palace, the expectations, it's too much." She laughed softly, bitterly. "Tired is not the word," she said. "I am torn between the life I am bound to and the life I wish I could have, between duty and this impossible longing I feel for you." Elias reached for her hand, and this time she did not pull away. Instead, she let her fingers intertwine with his, a silent acknowledgement of the dangerous path they both walked. "I never imagined I could feel so human," she admitted, voice trembling with a mixture of shame and wonder. "And yet with you I feel alive in ways I never thought possible. But what can we do, Elias? What future can there be for us?" He held her gaze, his own heart pounding. "I don't know," he admitted. "All I know is that I cannot ignore this. If the universe brought me to you even for a fleeting moment, I will not let it go without trying. I will not leave you with regrets." His eyes glistened. "Regrets, I fear them every day, that I will obey the path laid out for me and lose something or someone I cannot forget." She turned her gaze to the horizon, where distant cities shimmered like constellations. I wish the rules did not exist. I wish I could love freely without the weight of centuries pressing down on my shoulders." Elias drew a deep breath, his thumb brushing her knuckles. "Then let us start small," he said, voice low but firm. "Let us find moments where we can be ourselves, where the palace and duty cannot touch us. Let us speak truths that no one else must hear." A tear slipped down his cheek, a solitary pearl glinting in the dim light. "And if the council discovers us?" she asked, voice barely audible. "If they forbid, if they decree?" He silenced her with a gentle shake of her hand, his eyes unwavering. "Then we will face it together. Whatever the cost, whatever the world's demand, I will not abandon you. Not now, not ever." For a long moment they stood there, hands entwined, breathing the same alien air and feeling a unity that neither could name. The moonlight touched their faces, illuminating hope and fear alike, binding them in a fragile yet undeniable bond. Finally let herself rest her forehead against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her lips. "I never knew it could feel like this," she murmured. "To want and to be wanted in return, to have a heart that is not alone." Elias pressed a soft kiss to her temple. "You are not alone," he whispered. "Not now, not ever." But deep within the palace walls, shadows stirred. Eyes unseen and whispers unheard began to trace the edges of their stolen closeness. Love, as fierce and pure as theirs, often attracts both wonder and danger. And in the days to come, and Elias would be tested in ways that would challenge not only their hearts, but the very essence of their worlds. For now, though, in that fleeting moment under the alien sky, they had found something immeasurable, something worth defying everything for, the first fragile hope of a love that could transcend worlds. The palace corridors had never felt so cold. Even the warmth of the sun filtering through the crystal windows could not reach Princess' heart, which now pulsed with both desire and dread. Since her confession in the Silver Garden, whispers seemed to cling to every shadow, and even the gentle echo of her own footsteps felt like an accusation. She had never felt so acutely the fragility of her position, an alien princess bound by duty, longing for something forbidden. Elias had promised to remain by her side, to share moments of stolen honesty, but even his presence could not shield her from the looming specter of expectation. Courtiers moved around them with careful smiles, eyes sharp as blades hidden beneath polite masks. Every gesture was scrutinized, her every word measured against centuries of tradition. And yet the forbidden pull between them only deepened. Every glance, every fleeting touch became an unspoken conversation. In the privacy of her chambers would replay their stolen moments, letting the memory of Elias' hands on hers chase away the chill of the palace walls. His laughter, low and genuine, had begun to echo in her dreams, even when she tried to push it away. It was during the mid-morning council that the first real threat appeared. The elder of the court, a stoic alien named, whose words carried centuries of law, approached her with a deliberate gravity. "Princess," he began, his voice smooth but carrying an edge, "rumors have reached the council that you have been compromised by contact with a human envoy." The words struck like ice. Throat tightened, compromised, the weight of tradition and duty pressed against her chest, yet her eyes did not waver from the elder. "Compromised?" she repeated softly, her voice calm, but beneath it a storm of fear churned. "We have exchanged words and shared brief conversation, that is all. Elias is here as an envoy under the protection and trust of our empire." His gaze sharpened. Words, princess, carry power, and emotions unchecked can unravel the delicate fabric of our alliances. The council fears that your heart may cloud your judgment. Felt a pang of frustration, a sharp ache that cut deeper than any blade. It was not that she disagreed with caution. It was that her heart, so unrelentingly human in its longing, had begun to define her in ways the council could not comprehend. She squared her shoulders, the weight of her lineage pressing down, yet refusing to crush her resolve. "I am aware of my responsibilities," she said, voice strong but not unkind. "But I am also aware that a heart, even one of royalty, is capable of choice. I choose honesty. I choose to face whatever consequences arise from that honesty." The council murmured, a tide of uncertainty rippling through the chamber. Eyes narrowed. "Choice, princess, does not negate consequence. The council will deliberate on the matter." Inclined her head, concealing the flutter of fear beneath her composed exterior. Every step of protocol felt like a chain, yet there was a spark inside her that refused to be silenced. When the council meeting ended, she found Elias waiting at the edge of the gardens, his expression a mixture of concern and restrained hope. "They suspect," she whispered as he took her hand, the familiar warmth grounding her. He pressed his thumb against her knuckles. "Then we face it together," he said firmly. "No matter the risk, no matter the worlds or laws, I will not let go." His eyes shimmered. "Do you understand what that means, Elias? If the council chooses to act, it could change everything. I could be sent away, or worse." "Then we will endure it," he interrupted, his gaze unwavering. "Love is worth endurance. You have shown me your heart, I will show you mine, and together we will navigate whatever storms come." They walked through the alien gardens, the twin moons beginning their ascent, casting silver light across alien flowers and crystalline fountains. Each step was a silent promise, an unspoken defiance of all that sought to keep them apart. But the palace was not blind, and it had ears. Whispers spread like wildfire, reaching the most powerful and cautious corners. The tension between duty and desire had been awakened, and soon would have to choose, not just for herself, but for the life she might share with Elias. That night, as she lay beneath the alien sky, the weight of possibility pressed against her chest. She imagined a life where hearts could choose freely, where love transcended planets and politics. Yet the fear remained, a shadow that never left her side. Elias sat beside her quietly, allowing her to rest her head on his shoulder. "We will find a way," he murmured, voice soft, almost a promise to the stars themselves. Even if the worlds rise against us, I will not leave your side. Closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his presence seep into her bones. For the first time, she allowed herself to believe, not blindly, but defiantly, that love could survive even in the most impossible of places. The council, the traditions, the expectations, they could not touch the bond that had begun to take root in the quiet corners of their hearts. And yet, somewhere deep within the palace, unseen eyes watched, calculating, waiting for a moment of weakness. The first storm had come, but far greater trials were approaching, and the courage of both and Elias would soon be tested in ways neither could have imagined. The palace had become a cage. Every corridor echoed with the weight of expectation, every glance felt like judgment. Princess moved with careful precision, her heart heavy with a knowledge that the council's whispers were no longer idle. The accusation of compromise had ignited a firestorm, and though she and Elias had sought refuge in stolen moments, the looming shadow of consequence pressed ever closer. It was the morning of the council's official hearing when the storm broke. The grand chamber, adorned with glowing sigils of their ancestors, filled with the alien elite. At the center, his expression a mask of authority. His chest tightened, every heartbeat a drum of both fear and defiance. Elias stood at her side, his hand a silent anchor. "Princess," began, voice sharp as the crystal walls surrounding them, "the council has deliberated. Your actions, your attachments, place you in conflict with your duties. We must ask you to demonstrate that your heart does not compromise the future of our empire." Swallowed, the words tasting like cold metal. "And how do you propose I do that?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Every eye in the chamber scrutinized her, every movement a potential misstep. His gaze was piercing. "A trial of hearts. You will remain in the palace under observation, and the council will determine whether your attachments are a threat to the empire. You may meet your companion only under supervision. Any further breach will carry consequences severe enough to endanger both your position and the envoy himself." The chamber fell silent, the weight of the decree sinking into the very air. Stomach knotted, and she felt Elias stiffen beside her. "Is this truly necessary?" she whispered, a tremor in her voice. "Necessary," replied evenly. "Love without restraint is a luxury the throne cannot afford." As the council dispersed, Elias leaned close, lowering his voice. "We will endure this. Whatever the trial demands, we will find strength in each other." Wanted to believe him, but as they retreated to her chambers, doubt gnawed at her. How could love survive in a world that demanded obedience over the heart? How could two souls, bound by longing and courage, withstand scrutiny designed to break them? Days passed in a tense rhythm. The council's watch was relentless. Every letter she wrote to Elias, every meeting they arranged, was monitored. Yet in the quiet moments between shadows, they clung to each other with a ferocity born of desperation. Words unspoken in public became confessions in the hidden corners of the palace. Fingers brushed across hands, whispers shared across moonlit balconies, and every stolen smile became a lifeline. One night, under the pale light of the twin moons, and Elias found themselves in the secret garden near the northern tower, a place untouched by the council's surveillance. The air was fragrant with alien blooms, and the soft hum of the fountains echoed like a lullaby. Eyes were wet with tears she had held back for days. "I fear," she admitted, voice shaking, "that the council will never allow this, that the worlds will keep us apart, that my heart is too dangerous to be free." Elias cupped her face in his hands, thumb brushing away a stray tear. "Then we make it safe," he said firmly. "Not by hiding, not by fear, but by showing them that love does not weaken, it strengthens. You are not weakened by your feelings, you are human, you are alive, and I am yours in every way that matters." Her breath hitched, a mix of relief and fear. "Every way that matters," she repeated, letting herself savor the words, allowing the warmth of hope to bloom in her chest. But even as they held each other, the palace stirred. Unseen eyes watched from the shadows, noting every closeness, every tender gesture. Secrets in a palace were fragile things, and theirs was a flame that drew attention from those who would see it snuffed out. The next morning, the council summoned them again. Gaze was colder now, sharper, filled with the weight of centuries. Princess, the trial begins. You will demonstrate whether your attachments serve the Empire or betray it. His hand found Elias beneath the folds of her robes, fingers intertwining in silent promise. "We will endure," she whispered. "No matter what comes, I will not let go of you." Elias pressed a reassuring kiss to her knuckles. "And I will not let go of you." The trial of hearts had begun. Every word they spoke, every choice they made would be measured, weighed, and judged. The future they longed for hung in balance, fragile as the petals of the silver garden's blooms, and neither knew if love could survive in the cold crucible of power. Yet within the crucible itself, amidst fear and scrutiny, a single truth remained unshakable. Their hearts had found each other, and nothing, no decree, no expectation, no shadow of duty, could erase that. In the quiet that followed, whispered to the night sky, "I will fight for this love, even if it means defying everything." And Elias, standing beside her, whispered back, "Then we fight together." The trial had become a maze of scrutiny and restraint. Every step took was measured, every word she spoke catalogued by unseen observers. Yet, despite the pressure, the bond between her and Elias grew, quiet but unbreakable, like roots entwined beneath a frozen surface. They found solace in whispered letters and fleeting glances, each one a small rebellion against the chains of expectation. One evening, sat in her chambers, the soft light of the twin moons spilling across her robes. She clutched a folded letter from Elias, reading his words over and over, each sentence a lifeline in the storm of her emotions. "No matter the walls that surround us, no matter the eyes that watch, our hearts are ours alone. Remember that." Her chest ached with longing. The council's judgment loomed closer with every passing day, but she could not, would not, deny the truth of her feelings. And yet a shadow lingered, a whisper of doubt that chilled her more than any decree. Could love truly survive in a world designed to extinguish such desires? That night, Elias found her in the secret garden, their hidden sanctuary where the palace's eyes could not reach. He knelt before her, hands trembling slightly as they clasped hers. He said softly, "There is something I must tell you, something I've kept hidden." Her heart clenched, a mixture of fear and anticipation. "What is it?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. I am not like your people," he confessed, eyes meeting hers with an intensity that left her breathless. "There are things in me, abilities, connections, that if revealed could endanger not just us but your entire world." Sighs widened, but she did not pull away. Instead, she reached for his face, her fingers tracing the line of his jaw. "Elias, whatever it is, whatever you carry, it cannot make me love you less. It cannot change what we feel." He shook his head, a shadow passing over his expression. "It could," he admitted. "And that is why I stayed silent. I wanted to protect you, to protect your world. But now, I cannot hide from you any longer. You deserve the truth, no matter the cost." The air between them was thick with tension, charged with the weight of secrets and the gravity of confession. Heart pounded, but her resolve remained steadfast. "Then tell me," she urged. "Let me share this burden with you." Elias took a deep breath, the moonlight glinting off his dark eyes. "I am connected to forces beyond your understanding, forces that could either save or destroy. My people, my world, they are not far and they have eyes everywhere. My presence here, my closeness to you, has already drawn their attention. If we are discovered, it could spark conflict, even war." His fingers tightened around his. "Elias, we have already risked everything to be together. We have stared fear in the face and chosen to hold on. Do you think this will stop me from standing by you?" He shook his head, relief mingled with awe in his gaze. "No, it will not. That is why I told you now, because I trust you, and because I love you." Tears welled in his eyes, a mixture of fear, love, and fierce determination. "Then we face it together," she said firmly, pressing her forehead against his. "No matter the cost, no matter the worlds or powers involved, I am yours, and you are mine." For a long moment, they simply held each other, letting the universe fall away. The silver garden seemed to hum around them, a quiet witness to their bond. But beyond the garden walls, the palace was stirring. And the council had received word of Elias' origins, of the power he carried, and the chamber would soon demand answers that neither of them were fully prepared to give. That night lay awake, staring at the ceiling of her chambers. Her mind was a whirlwind of fear and hope. If the council acts, if my people reject him, can our love survive? Yet beneath the fear a quiet certainty pulsed. Love, once discovered, cannot be undone. Elias knocked softly, entering with a look of quiet determination. He sat beside her, taking her hand. "No matter what comes, I will not leave you, not now, not ever." She leaned into him, tears spilling freely. "And I will not let go," she whispered. "Even if the world stands against us, I will fight for us, for this love." And in the quiet of the moonlit night, their hearts spoke the truth that no law, no counsel, no fear could deny. They were bound by a love that transcended worlds, that would endure whatever trials the universe placed before them. But the council would not wait, and soon, and Elias would face the ultimate test. A choice between duty and desire, between love and the survival of everything they held dear. The grand chamber of the council was colder than the coldest moon. Crystalline walls reflected every tense expression, every measured breath, magnifying the weight of judgment pressing down upon Princess. Elias stood beside her, a silent pillar of strength, though she could feel the tremor of uncertainty in his fingers. Today, the trial of hearts reached its crescendo. The council's patience had worn thin, and secrets that were once hidden now demanded answers. "Princess's voice cut through the air like a sharpened blade. Your continued attachment to the human envoy threatens not only your position, but the stability of our empire. We must know, do you intend to sever these bonds for the good of your people, or will you allow your personal desires to endanger all?" Swallowed, her heart racing, yet she did not flinch. The words were heavy, but the truth she carried was heavier still. She felt Elias' hand brush hers beneath the folds of her robes, grounding her in the certainty of their bond. I cannot sever what is real," she said softly, yet firmly. "I cannot deny the truth of my heart. Elias is not merely an attachment. He is my companion, my confidant, the one who makes me feel human, alive, and complete." A ripple of murmurs passed through the council. Gaze narrowed, calculating, unyielding. "And you are willing to risk everything, your title, your legacy, your people, for this human?" "Yes," she whispered, tears glimmering in her eyes. "I am willing, because without him my life is hollow, and I cannot lead with a hollow heart. My duty is to my people, yes, but it is also to live with truth and courage. I cannot betray what I feel, not even for the throne." Elias' chest tightened, the emotions swirling inside him almost unbearable. He had feared this moment, feared the council's wrath, feared the impossible choice that might demand his departure. Yet hearing the conviction in her voice, he felt a strength he had never known. "I stand by her," he said, voice firm, carrying across the chamber. "Whatever comes, whatever consequence, I will not abandon her, and if that makes me an enemy, then I accept that, for love is worth the risk." The council erupted in whispers, some astonished, others outraged. Face darkened, centuries of rigid expectation clashing with a truth he could not suppress. "You dare defy the laws of your world for emotion," he demanded. Held her ground, her fingers still entwined with Elias. "It is more than emotion, it is life. And if my world cannot accept the depth of a heart, then perhaps it must grow, just as I have grown, just as we have grown. This, love, is not weakness. It is the truest strength I possess." For a long, suspended moment, silence reigned. The council weighed her words against tradition, against law, against fear. The air felt charged, almost electric, as though the universe itself paused to witness the defiance of a single heart. Then unexpectedly stepped back, his expression unreadable. "So be it," he said slowly, the weight of centuries in his tone. "You choose love over duty, human and princess alike, but know this, consequences will follow. Your world is not yet ready to embrace what you have chosen. Paths will close, challenges will rise. The cost of your defiance is not freedom, but the battle to protect it." Exhaled, relief mingled with fear. She turned to Elias, their foreheads touching, eyes locked. "We will face it," she whispered. "Every challenge, every danger, together." He pressed a soft kiss to her temple. "Together," he repeated, voice full of promise. "No matter the worlds or laws, no matter the councils or kings, we face it as one." That night, beneath the twin moons in the secret garden, they allowed themselves to breathe, to feel the quiet joy of victory mingled with the apprehension of what lay ahead. Rested her head against Elias' chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. "We are stronger than I ever imagined," she murmured. "Yes," he replied, arms encircling her, "and the universe will test us still, but for now we have each other, and that is enough to face anything." Somewhere far beyond the palace walls, shadows stirred, forces waiting, watching, calculating the next move in a game that had only just begun. But in this stolen moment of peace, and Elias held fast to the truth that had brought them together. Love was their power, their defiance, and their salvation. In the quiet glow of the moonlight, a single truth resonated, unshakable and eternal. Hearts that choose each other, even against the cosmos, can ignite a light that no darkness can extinguish. The night air was heavy with anticipation. Princess stood at the highest balcony of the palace, the twin moons casting silver light across the alien city. Below, the glow of the towers reflected the heartbeat of a world that demanded order, yet her chest pulsed with the rhythm of something far greater, love that had centuries of expectation. Elias approached quietly, his presence as steadfast as the stars themselves. He extended his hand, and she took it without hesitation. Their fingers intertwined, a tangible reminder that in a universe of laws, of expectations, of shadows lurking in every corner, they had chosen each other. "Are you ready?" he asked softly, his voice carrying both hope and the gravity of what was to come. Nodded, her eyes glistening with tears that held joy and courage in equal measure. "I am ready, for whatever comes, for every challenge, for every world that would tell me who I should love. I choose you." The council had decreed trials, whispered warnings, and even threats, yet here they stood, unbroken. Their love had become a force that neither law nor fear could restrain. Each step forward was a statement, a defiance of every expectation that sought to define them apart. Together, they descended to the palace courtyard, where the council had gathered one last time. Watched, his expression unreadable, the centuries of tradition in his eyes clashing with the undeniable truth of what had unfolded. "Princess," he said, voice heavy with both authority and reluctant respect, "you have expectations. You have chosen a path unimagined, fraught with danger and uncertainty, yet you have done so with courage and honesty. Perhaps there is a lesson for us all in that courage." Met his gaze, her own steady and unflinching. "I will not deny my people guidance or protection," she said, voice clear and resolute, "but I will not deny the truth of my heart either. Love is not a weakness. It is strength, courage, and the light that guides us through the darkest moments." The council remained silent, the weight of her words settling over them like a tide they could not resist. Elias squeezed her hand gently, a wordless affirmation that together they had changed more than hearts. They had challenged the very notion of what it meant to lead. And then with a quiet determination stepped forward. "I am ready to lead as myself, whole, human in spirit, alien in heritage, and bound by the heart that chose to love without fear." The courtyard seemed to hold its breath. Even the twin moons appeared to shine brighter, as though acknowledging the courage of two beings who had dared to defy expectation. Elias lifted her hand, pressing a kiss to it, his own tears glinting like stars in the silver light. "You are extraordinary," he whispered, "and I am honored to walk beside you through every challenge, every triumph, and every unknown tomorrow." Smiled through her tears, leaning into him. "Then we face it all together," she said softly. "No matter the worlds, no matter the fear, no matter the shadows, together." As the moons climbed higher, a gentle breeze rustled the alien gardens, carrying with it the scent of silver blooms and the quiet promise of hope. Across worlds, across expectations, across fear, two hearts had chosen each other, and in that choice they had created a light that no darkness could ever extinguish. And in the hearts of all who witnessed, whispered, or unseen, a lesson was sown. That courage is born not just in battlefields, but in the act of loving fully, openly, and without compromise. That true power lies in the heart, in the willingness to risk everything for what is real. And Elias stood side by side, gazing at the horizon, their fingers still entwined. The future was uncertain, filled with challenges they could not yet imagine, but one truth remained eternal. They had chosen each other. And in that choice they had found a universe worth fighting for, a love beyond worlds, a bond beyond fear, and a hope that would endure as long as hearts dared to beat in unison. The twin moons shone down on them, silent witnesses to a love that transcended planets, laws, and time itself. A love that would be remembered, whispered in stories, and carried in hearts for generations to come. And for Princess and her human companion, Elias, the impossible had become possible, the improbable had become real, and the universe itself had bowed to the courage of two hearts that refused to be divided.